Welcome to the Simply Real Life podcast. I'm Sarah, the founder of Simply Real Health, here to help you simplify, amplify, and elevate your life. This show is for those of you who want the real talk on how to live a more intuitive and intentional life, a life that's healthy from the inside out, and one that feels more effortless, aligned, simple, and more alive. We cover it all, from health, wellness, mindset, motherhood, daily habits and rituals, to business and relationships, creativity and growth, and tiny tricks to feeling your best, and the energetics behind it all filled with personal stories, unfiltered conversations, and of course, answering all of your burning questions, all in the way of simplicity and keeping it real, so that you can create your own version of your healthiest life. Let's do it. Hi guys, welcome back to the show this week. I hope that your fall is going awesome. I hope that it has been something that has felt really good to you. And as you know, if you've listened to the previous episode I did on transitioning from summer into fall, it's now quite official that we are in what I call in that episode fall part 2. There's just such an energetic difference between the beginning of fall, like how I define it, part 1, coming from summer, the back to school. There's a lot of commotion. There's entirely new routine, but yet there's so many things that also stay the same, like weather for the most part, not drastically different, depends where you live. It's like the amount of light during the day, like the things that dictate probably more of our specific daily routines as they relate to health or how we are showing up for ourselves or taking care of ourselves in the minutia of day to day. That doesn't change as much in part 1 of fall as it does starting about now, like midway through October, end of October through the end of the year is an entirely different feel, primarily related to the amount of light in the day and probably the weather, the temperature, even things like clothing and what we have to wear and what spending time outside in nature means. Just means a little bit more preparation, maybe some better gear. There are definitely shifts that we can tangibly feel. And it also relates to things that we do, like the ways we spend our time. So whether it's different hobbies or it's different ways that you're taking care of your mental health or investing in your emotional health or grounding your nervous system, like all of that is tied in to weather and like what you are able to do and not able to do. It's one of the times of year where it's a really good idea to just check in, just even to yourself right now as you're listening to this, whether you're driving or walking or doing laundry or chores, start to check in with yourself of like, is there anything that needs to change right now in any of my routines so that I can be more flexible and morph these routines that are very life-giving, but have them transition into a new part of the season. They may look different. Like the intention is still there. So in the example this week, I sent this out to everyone on my list as I've been processing through this for myself the last couple of weeks of thinking through. I am so obsessed with my morning meditation walks, which I've been kind of laughing to myself. I'm like, it's more than just meditation because it actually feels more like breath work and I'm physically resetting my body and resetting my mind, probably more so early first thing in the morning before anyone needs anything from me. I'm just getting my mind right for the day. And these walks, I'm just at that tipping point where it feels like I crave it. Like I'm seeing so much benefit out of it that it's so worth getting up, even if it's dark, even if it's rainy, even if I'm wearing my hat and gloves and puffy coat and I'm only out there for 10 minutes. It's just such a reset for my entire nervous system, my entire body. It just gets my mind right for the day. And that sense of clearing the stale, stagnant energy out, like whatever I'm bringing in from the day before, whatever thoughts are ruminating in my head, it's like this clearing that feels so good. So it's no longer hard to get up for. That was definitely the case in the beginning. I'm like, oh man, this feels so early, even though it's only about 20 minutes earlier. But it just felt like such a big thing to start doing that again. I think after having a third baby, I've gone through over a year of not getting up early before my kids because I've been prioritizing sleep. But in this new phase, like I'm getting so much more life out of those 20 minutes spent resetting my mind than 20 more minutes in bed. And I've been thinking about how often we give up on things before we get to that tipping point. Like how often we just throw in the towel on something that is so good and would be so helpful in what we actually need because we don't stick with it long enough. And I think a lot of this comes to being maybe perfectionistic about it, or it needs to look a certain way, or it has to be a certain amount of time, or it's very all or nothing how we think about doing good things for ourselves or doing good things for our health. And we really get in our own way. Like we have all of these limiting thoughts and these beliefs steeped in lack or fear-based mentality versus potential or possibility, or what if I could really do this or could really show up for myself, even if it's just 5 minutes and it's just to be in the act of doing it, more so than it maybe giving you a full reset for that day, but you're still in the practice of showing up for yourself in these small little ways. So it's just been getting me thinking of like, man, past me would be so proud of me for sticking with something like this, where it does take a little while to get over the hump. Like, think about a new workout routine or even just trying to eat healthier. That it takes a little bit of time when you're in that liminal space of you're not quite to the point where you can feel and see the difference and feel like this is so worth it. Most of us give up then because it's like we can't do it perfectly or it can't be done every single day. So then we give up. Can we just stick with it and do it in a way that is more steady and consistent, not fancy, not flashy, but the practice of showing up for yourself in small little ways, I think just makes such a difference. So it's something that I've been thinking about a lot these last couple weeks. And then the thought of also, okay, this routine of mine may have to change. We may have to make some adjustments. Like, let's say it's a morning where it is actually freezing or it's pouring down rain. And I'm usually one that's like, just get the umbrella and my rain boots and I'll be fine, especially for something short, like 10 or 15 minutes. And it's more about the breath work and listening to something positive in my ears, less about a workout or anything like that. But I'm usually one, sure, I'll just put on the right gear, make some difference. Just get out there, just do it before your mind starts coming up with all the excuses as to why not. But also, I know that there's going to be mornings where either I can't, maybe my husband's traveling, or maybe the weather is horrible, or maybe it just like doesn't feel great to be going outside for some other reason. Of coming up with other ideas for myself of things that would also set the same intention and help me feel maybe just as good. Maybe it's not going to be as great as my ideal walk situation, but as great as resetting my mind. And so this past week, I've been spending a lot of time thinking about, okay, I just want to keep this flexible. I want to have a few options, almost like you're going to the coffee shop and you're like, what do I want today? Like, what sounds good today? What's going to match my energy? What's going to feed me, nourish me? What's going to boost me right now? And just having a few options so that I don't get stuck in that all or nothing, like it has to look a certain way. And if it doesn't look like that, or the weather ruins it, then everything's off the table. So doing that work now of thinking ahead of time, it's such a small thing, really, but it's a huge thing in terms of living a more intentional life and living a healthier life. Taking a few moments to just reflect and think about, okay, what is the thing that does actually help me here? And how can I continue that even when the situation's not ideal or I need to change it up? Like, what are some other ways I could also get a similar feel than the thing that I've been doing? So that's something to start thinking about in your own life. Through this time of year, there is this natural shift and energy change. And let's look at all of our daily routines. Let's look at the areas of our life that matter to us. But always, I think, one or two areas, the main life bucket. So whether that's your marriage or relationships, or it's your career, or maybe it's in motherhood, or maybe it's with your health. Maybe it's with your mental health, your mindset specifically. There's always like one or two of those categories that call to us of like, this area needs a little bit more love or a little bit more attention. And this is where I want to set my intention for the next, short amount of time, like the next 2 months. And I think getting clear on what those things are for you, what things are present for you, what things you think about, what things are in your heart, what things maybe keep you up at night, what things are deep desires, but that you haven't either made the time or haven't made it a priority. And those are things that you're like, I do want to make that a priority. And how can I do that? And what does that look like? And so it's just another great reflection point in the year. Like, not only the season changing, but sometimes there's these micro seasons in between the seasons that it's really helpful to gently redirect or gently turn our focus to something versus feeling like it's this giant thing and we want to do total life overhauls. In my experience, that just doesn't pan out very well because there's too many things we're trying to change, too many different areas we're trying to pour into at once. And if you're anything like me and you are in a busy stage of your life. That could be any age and any season, but a busy stage where you are holding a lot. Maybe that's aging parents, or maybe it is young kids, or maybe it is a career, or maybe it is a relationship. Like we are holding so many different things. And I think that there's always this pressure from the outside that we need to be doing everything all at the same time. And the reality is that is not how it works. It's like we may have little pockets of time to pour into one or two areas at a time. But then if you think about that over the span of an entire year, you are covering all the bases. But there may be certain seasons of the year or little micro seasons of the year, or even a month's time where you're thinking about one or two things and then it changes again. And then there's always things that are daily routines and are non-negotiable, the things we do every day, no matter what, just because they do help boost our health and our vitality and our energy and our ability to handle and hold all of the other things in life. Really does come down to consistent behaviors and being steady in how you're feeding yourself. Are you drinking water? Are you sleeping well and doing the things you can do to optimize really good sleep? Are you taking care of your nervous system and your hormones? Are you investing in relationships that help you become the best version of yourself? They're little tiny ways that you show up for yourself. And then there's always these overarching, maybe one or two areas, maybe it's three if you have a little bit more bandwidth, where when you have the extra time and energy, this is where you want to be pouring that time and energy. So just something I've been thinking about the last couple of weeks for myself of like, hey, what changes do I want to make, if any, or are things feeling really good? Sometimes there's micro seasons, don't need to change anything, but it's just that question to yourself of like checking in, taking a breath, taking a little bit of a look at all the areas of your life that you feel like do really matter to you and seeing where you're landing with those things. It just feels like such a more approachable way to think about things like being healthier, like being more intentional, like, living in line with your values and your priorities. It does take oftentimes these pauses to ask ourselves these questions rather than what most people do, which is just letting the chaos and the commotion of the outside world take all of our energy versus holding that a little bit more tenderly and protecting some of that energy so that we have time, space, love to give to the things that we're wanting to give to in our life rather than a lot of that energy being sucked out by either other people or news feeds or social media or whatever. Feel like it doesn't bring a lot to your life. I think those things have a tendency to come in by default unless we are actively creating our life in a way where we're aware of the things that do matter. And it's different for everyone. Everybody has slightly different priorities, and in different seasons, those priorities can change and they will change. So it's like another reason to be thinking about these small micro shifts and little things that you can be doing, maybe ways that you're doing them. It's the same intention, but maybe the way that you get there is slightly different. So it's just helpful for our brains, I think, to think these things through before they actually get there, before we're actually in the moment where we'll need to decide what to do and then we panic. But having things thought through a little bit ahead of time, I think can make such a difference in terms of how you feel. And particularly in this time of year, we're heading towards the holidays, which, as we know, is its entirely own energy in itself. And for some people, it feels like that is a slower time. For some people, I know it feels like a much more chaotic, faster paced time where there's just more to do on top of our normal daily life stuff. I feel like just being a recovered perfectionist and somebody who used to be so steeped in all or nothing thinking that it was like, we'll just wait till January because then it's going to be a fresh start and there's fresh energy there. And then I'll just go for it all. And in the meantime, I'm just going to have a great time and not think about it. But like that does not set us up well. And then it's so much harder to make progress or get any type of movement. And it's at a more dreary time of year. That's actually the time of year to be resting, like beginning of January. It's not this crazy fast start. It just doesn't set us up well for maintaining good things. So just a little challenge for you. How do you want to think about this fall part two? And how do you want to set yourself up in a way where you do have steady, consistent ways that you're pouring into yourself and your life and your health and your vitality and all of the things that do matter in terms of how you show up in your daily life in these little tiny ways? I hope that this encourages you and really makes you think a little bit more intentionally about how we are going through our day-to-day life and that really we do have so much more control and more say in the creation of how our days feel, how our bodies feel, how our routines feel. Like, it really starts with these small things and micro decisions and little shifts in showing up for ourselves. So if you try this, I would love to know some of the things that you are focusing on this time of year. Again, this is not sexy and exciting and flashy. This is just slow and steady and consistent. And can we find the beauty in that and the peace in that? And truly, at the end of the day, the joy in that and the joy of not being in an all or nothing mindset. It's like this gentle wave coming and going, and we can ebb with the flows of that, because that's what normal life is. It's just been such a game changer to shift how I'm thinking about this. And I hope that this does the same for you. If you have any questions or want to share what you are working on, I would love to know. Just come over and find me at Simply Real Health on Instagram. And I hope you have a great week. We'll see you back here next week. If you enjoyed this episode and want more like it, make sure you're subscribed to the Simply Real Life podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and maybe share it with a friend or two. That would mean the world.